Okay, I've gotten to the point in this big Cree LED light that I'm ready to discuss a little bit about the wiring and power and all that kind of thing. I have the LED mounted on the heatsink or in the head, and I have the reflector cut so it goes around the LED, and the wires are drilled. Hang on just one second. Okay, I had to kill a wasp, so the battery pack is wired up with this PCB that controls charging, and I still think it also controls power too, but I'm not going to even go there. It will control the charging and hopefully balance the cells as they're charged. I have the 9 batteries in series. I have the tabs soldered on, and to wire this thing up, the way this board works, we have a wire set right here. I won't even take it apart. And the very first wire goes to the positive lead, or it goes to the positive battery. First battery with positive exposed, and that has all the positive leads on it. There's a positive lead that goes to the charger unit. There's a positive lead that goes out to power up the DC-DC converter. Then after those leads are soldered on, then you take each individual wire one at a time and just go to the next junction, and they're wired right onto the tabs. Okay, so the first white wire goes onto the first tab following where the positive is. So on the back end, that's in the first tab. Then the second wire goes to the second tab. Third wire goes to the third tab, so forth and so on, all the way through to the last tab, which has the black wire. Okay, that's how that's wired on. And I'll show you. I'll put a diagram in the thread too. Then you have you take the last connection, or the last lead, which is your battery negative. You got battery positive on the front, and you got battery negative on the other end. And you take battery negative and wire it to B minus on this board, and it's wired on the back side. This board, this is the second board. You can see this one has got a lot of the thermal adhesive on here to protect all of these connections. I really feel the board's shorted out because of the 47,000 bare connections on the back end. But anyways, that battery minus is wired to there. Then you have 2 more contact points. You have C minus and P minus. So C minus goes to charger. So that goes, and I've simulated this how it will be in the light, so I even have the charging port. So that goes to the negative side of the charging port. Okay, and then P minus will go to the DC to DC converter. So this is all wired up, and it'll be setting out here. The other thing that I did was I added on the positive side of this pack, I added a Judco switch so that I can kill the power to that DC-DC converter. I don't want it to be powered all the time. I want to be able to shut the power off to it, so I have this Judco switch that'll be on there. So then I take my positive and my negative, and I'll wire them to this DC-DC converter. Okay, then on the other side, on the output side of that converter, I'll take positive and negative, and I'll bring them to this volt amp meter. And on the volt amp meter on the back, you have input and output. So the wires from the DC converter go to input, and your positive is the same on both sides. Okay, and then the output, your leads would go out to the LED. So that's where I'm at. I'm going to get my meters and get all that set up, and I'll because I'm going to be using a trim pass to adjust voltage and adjust amperage. I'm expecting around 40. The battery pack is giving me about 37 volts, 36.8, 37 volts. I'm expecting to get output about anywhere between 40 and 42 volts, and anywhere from 3 to maybe 4 amps to the LED. So hopefully I'll be able to read or figure out this thing is programmable. So I'm going to hopefully I'll be able to figure this little sucker out. The text on the website for doing it is not very good at all. After translating from Chinese to English, it doesn't mean much of anything. So I'll try to figure that out. That's why I'm going to use the meters, is just so I can double check everything and go off meters rather than go off that volt amp gauge to start with and see how accurate it is. But I'll need to wire up my LED now and hook up my connections and get my meters out. So I'll be back in a little bit and we'll see what we can get out of this thing. Okay, well I think I'm about ready now. I have a voltmeter set up in the back here. I have my amp meter here and I don't have it hooked up yet. I don't have anything hooked up except the voltmeter on the output side because I want to see what I get for volts before I even start and try to trim it and adjust it a little bit. I'll tell you already that it was backed off so that it wouldn't add any voltage or increase any voltage from the input side. And anyways, I'm gonna try adjusting the voltage first, so I'm going to zoom in on a voltmeter and try adjusting a trim pot and see what I get. The trim pot on the right here is for voltage. The trim pot on the left is for adjusting the amperage. Okay, so we'll see what we get here in just a minute. Okay, my amp meter is set up for the 200 volt DC setting. And I'm going to go ahead and hit the Judco switch and put some power to it and see what we get. Well, that was pretty fast, right at 40 volts. And I'm going to make sure that I can trim this. Here we go. Let's see. 41.6, 42.7, 43, 44, 45, so it seems to be working okay. I'm going to take it back down, probably to about 38 volts or so. It seems to react real fast. I'm surprised here how well it's doing. 37.8, let's go 37. Okay, 37 volts we'll start out with. Now I'm going to hook up the other stuff here so I can actually get some power to the LED and see what we get. Okay, now I have the amp meter set up, and I have the voltmeter set up, and I have the meter that I'm going to be using for this setup. That's also in line 2. The LED should power up when I turn on the Judco switch. So let's see what happens. There we go. Now we're drawing 1.69 amps and 37.1 volts, and we are alive. So let me see what happens when I raise this voltage up a little bit. I'm at 38 volts and I'm going to 2 amps. And I'm not winding anymore. 39.1, I'm at 2.4 amps. 40 volts, I'm at 2.73 amps. 41 volts, I'm at 3.08 amps. 41.6 volts, and I'm 3.28 amps. Now the other thing is that this one in the back here, I know you can't see it. Hang on just a minute here. the one in the back here is reading as well, voltage and amperage. Now it's reading the voltage just a little bit higher than my meter is. My meter is reading like 41.6, this is reading 42, but the amperage is just about dead on, possibly even a little higher on the amperage. So I'm just going to play around with this and see what I can do, and then see how the amperage, how I can balance the amperage with the trim pot too. So I'm just going to play a little bit. Alright, we're back on again. I'm at 41.7 volts, 42.1 on this, 3.3 amps, 3.27 amps on that one. I'm going to go ahead and up the voltage a little bit. I'm at 40, I'm going to leave it at 42. I'm going to put it at 42 volts, and I'm going to see what I can do with the amperage. I'm at 3.4 amps right now. Okay, let's see if I can increase the amperage. .45. I don't know if it's really coming up that much. 3.5 amps. So already I'm at 42.2 volts and 3.5 amps, so I'm exceeding the quote-unquote stock amp draw on this light already. And it's pretty doggone bright. I really can't tell you what kind of beam it is because I'm not in a spot where I can see the beam. Well, yeah, I can. You know, it actually does have a defined beam, but it's going to be about the size of a cannonball. Anyways, what I can say right now is this part of it is a success. The next thing I need to check is I need to test out the charger and see if that works. So, hang on a minute. Okay, well I've got my charger plugged in now, and it is working. You can see that the power light is on and the charge light is on, which it wasn't doing before with the first board I had, so I think I probably fried that first board. But it is working properly. So, you know, when all is said and done, hey man, this thing's going to work. It's fantastic. I'm excited about it because this is the most wiring I've ever done in a light, you know, and I was really concerned about double checking, triple checking, and quadruple checking to try to make sure that it works, and man, it works. So I'm going to see just what I can do with higher amp draws on this, and I may show a little bit of it on the video. Thanks. Well, one more little bit of good news is the charger works. Now I'm showing green on the battery icon, so or the battery light. Yeah, I've been playing around with the computer too much. Huh? Everything's an icon. All right, now I'm going to try playing around some more with amp draw and voltage on this thing. All right, well I'm going to play around just a little bit more with this and see what I can do with some changes in voltage and amp draw. Okay, where we left it was I'm doing, according to my meter, see I'm doing 42.3. According to this meter, I'm doing 42.6 for voltage. For amps, according to my meter, 3.52. According to this meter, 3.51. So I'm going to try raising up that voltage some and see what happens with it here. There we go. Alright, now we're up at, I'm at 43 volts, 43.4 on the other one, and 3.8 amps. I'll go to 44 volts, and I'm doing 4.12 amps right there. And I don't know that I want to go any farther than that. I think that's pretty, well, you know, what the heck. We got another LED, right? Let's see what happens. Let's see if I can raise the amps up. .18, 4.2, 4.22, 4.25 amps right there. Okay, that's holding at 44.3 volts. The other one shows 44.8 and 4.25 amps, 4.24 amps on the other one. This is the one I'll be using, so it's showing 44.8 volts. So I guess the voltage is about where it's going to be. That's 45 volts right there, and that's 4.3 amps. I think I'm going to back the amps off a little bit and call it a day. Alright, well that's about it for this video. Thanks for watching. Oh, and one last thing is, just that little bit of testing that you've seen, I didn't do any more testing than that, and I went to pick this thing up to move it, to pick the head up to move it, and I can't touch it. I mean, I burned my fingertips on it. That's amazing, you know. I just thought you'd like that. I'm gonna have to let it cool before I can do anything with it.